Some experts say that buying your own home is the dumbest financial move you can make. It sounds crazy, right? For most of us, the Australian dream is to own our own property. It is supposed to mean success and that you've finally made it. And yes, owning your own home can feel amazing. But simply from a numbers point of view, the experts aren't wrong. Your home does cost you every week. There's no rent coming in, there's no tax deductions, you're paying interest, council rates and maintenance, and insurance on top of everything else. So if your goal is to build wealth, there is a smarter way, and it's called rent vesting. Rent vesting lets you live where you want to and invest where you can. You can live near the beach and invest somewhere else that you can afford. In other words, you separate the lifestyle game from the wealth game, and you win in both areas. Here's a quick example. I was recently working with a couple who were renting where they wanted to live for $600 a week. And instead of buying a property for around $1 million where they could and wanted to live, they used their deposit to buy in a growth area. In just 2 years, the property went up over $100,000, and now they are ready to buy their second investment property. So what exactly is rent vesting? In its simplest form, it means living where you want to live and buying an investment property where you can afford. As an example, let's say you love living on the Gold Coast, but you just can't afford to buy a $1.2 million house or higher. You can rent somewhere that you can afford and then invest somewhere like the Ipswich corridor. So instead of stretching yourself thin or saving for 15 years to get a deposit for $1 million house, you can invest somewhere that's about $500,000, getting to live where you want to live right now and building up some wealth in the background. And that property's growing every year while tenants are helping you to pay off the mortgage. Here's a metaphor I like. Buying your dream home is like buying a Lamborghini. It looks great, it feels good, you feel proud, but it doesn't make you money. Rent vesting is more like buying a solid workhorse. It doesn't turn heads and it doesn't feel as fun, but it does earn its keep. And the best part, you can still enjoy the Lamborghini lifestyle and rent that on the weekends. The key mindset shift is this: your home doesn't need to be your biggest asset, your investments can be. So who does this strategy actually suit? It's not for everyone, but here are some types of people that it works for. 1. Young professionals. You might be early in your career, you might be changing jobs often, moving cities, not really sure where you want to build your home. Rent vesting gives you flexibility. You're not chained to the one suburb with a giant mortgage. Number 2, couples who value lifestyle. You might want to live near the beach, go to all the great cafes and all the places that you love, but you really don't want to miss out on getting into the property market. Number 3, FIFO workers and tradies. You have a great income, a really strong income, but you're away a lot. This gets your money working for you while you're away and building up something in the background. Number 4, anyone that's priced out of their dream suburb. Property prices have grown much faster than wages. While you're saving, the market is running away. Rent vesting can help you leapfrog into the market sooner. Number 5, people that don't actually want to be property investors. Even if you just want your dream home and you don't want to be a property investor, rent vesting could be a way to help you get to your dream home. The key takeaway here is that rent vesting gives you options. So why does saving cash not work? So let's be real, saving cash is important, everybody needs a deposit, but it often doesn't work as a way to catch up on property prices. Why? Because property values have been rising faster than wages for decades. You can think of it like this: property prices are riding up on an escalator while you're running on a treadmill. No matter how hard you run, the escalator keeps going higher. As an example, you save $50,000 in 1 year, which is amazing. But the $700,000 property that you really want to buy just went up $80,000 in the same year. So you're actually further behind than you were when you started. This is why so many people feel like their dreams are moving away from them, because they literally are. Rent vesting actually flips the script. So instead of chasing the escalator, jump onto it. Now the rising property prices take you up with it, and you can keep renting where you want to live at the same time. What are the benefits of rent vesting? You get into the market sooner. You don't need a $200K deposit for $1 million home. You can get started with a smaller deposit on an affordable investment. 2, you can own multiple growth opportunities. Instead of pouring everything into one home, you can invest in a couple areas with better investments. 3, you can access tax benefits. Things like negative gearing and depreciation help lower the load. 4, you keep lifestyle flexibility. Do you want to move cities or travel, or at least have the option to? Renting gives you that freedom without being locked down. Here's a metaphor. Buying your own home is like planting one big tree. It will grow, but slowly. Rent vesting is like planting an orchard. Some trees grow faster, some slower, but in the long run you have more fruit and more shade and more options. So it's not all pros, and there are some cons to rent vesting. Some of the downsides include: number 1, you're still paying rent. Some people just hate the feeling of paying off someone else's mortgage. Number 2, you don't get the same sense of security. There is something comforting about owning your own home that renting doesn't give you. Number 3, there's still risk. You could buy in the wrong structure or in the wrong location, and you could struggle. Number 4, it still requires discipline. If you just use rent vesting as an excuse to rent a luxury apartment and blow out your budget, it still fails. Number 5, cash flow is not always smooth. Tenants leave, interest rates can rise, and maintenance issues can happen that cost you money. So yes, rent vesting can be powerful, but only if you treat it as a serious strategy with buffers and planning and long-term thinking. So here are some key principles. Ideally, you want to keep the loans separate. If you do own multiple properties, you don't want the bank having too much control by having it tied up in one giant loan. Offset accounts and redraw accounts. Picture your mortgage like a bathtub full of water. The water is debt. An offset account is like putting rocks in the tub. The more rocks you put in, the less space for water. So the bank only charges you interest on a smaller amount. As an example, on a $500,000 loan, if you had $20,000 in the offset, you pay interest on the $480,000. Interest only versus principal and interest. Interest only can keep your repayments lower, keeping more cash flow in your hand from day one. But it means you are not reducing the principal. It also can negatively affect your borrowing capacity. Principal and interest can mean higher repayments from the start, but you're building equity from day one. Which is better? It depends on your goals. Cross-collateralization. This is when the bank ties 2 or more properties to the same loan. Sometimes it can make things easier and move faster, but it means less flexibility. The key to this strategy is to know the pros and cons going in and to have a plan to get out of it. Good structure means freedom. It gives you the power to sell, refinance, or buy again without the bank holding all the cards. Let's talk a little bit about buffers, something that I'm passionate about. A buffer means spare money set aside in an offset account or in the redraw account. Why? Because surprises happen. Tenants leave, hot water systems break, your car might break down, interest rates go up. If you do not have a buffer, life could be much more stressful. One hiccup can cause everything to fall apart. A good rule of thumb is 3 to 6 months of property expenses. However, there's no set amount that makes you feel safe. Think of it a little bit like a seatbelt. Most of the time you don't really need it, but when you do, it saves you. I actually call this my sleep well at night factor. Let's say your property costs $2,000 a month to hold. If it was to sit vacant for 2 months, that'd be a lot of stress. If you have $6,000 set aside in an offset account, you might glide through stress-free, while without a buffer, you'd be panicking. So what are some common mistakes? The traps that I see most often are lifestyle creep. This is overspending on things like rent while trying to invest. Buying in the wrong area. Just because you're familiar with somewhere doesn't mean it's a great place to invest. Growth drivers do matter. Not having a buffer. It's like driving without a seatbelt. Not having an exit plan. You need to know how rent vesting fits in your bigger picture. Paralysis by analysis. This might be the biggest one. Always researching but never acting. A short story. I actually know someone that spent years researching every suburb, and by the time they were finally ready, the property that they thought they could afford was about $200,000 dearer. Their caution here cost them dearly. So there is a lesson there, and that is that good action today is better than perfect action tomorrow. So it's time for a couple of examples. Example number 1, a young couple really wants to live on the Gold Coast, and while they could afford to buy a property just over $1 million, they didn't want to tie all their money up into it. So they decided to rent for $600 per week. And then they used their income to purchase 2 investment properties for about $600,000 each. If you fast forward 10 years and you use 5% growth per year, these properties are now worth about $2 million combined. That is about $800,000 in equity growth. If they had bought the $1 million home, it still would have gone up, but it would have been much slower and they wouldn't have had any of the tax benefits. Same lifestyle, totally different financial outcome. So this is the rent vesting advantage in action. Example number 2, this is the dream home strategy. So what if you are someone that says, I don't even want to invest in property. I just want my own home one day. That is completely fine. Rent vesting can still give you a pathway. So let's say your dream home is about $1.5 million, but you're only comfortable with the repayments of an $800,000 property. It would be a very stressful 30 years trying to pay off this property. So here is the strategy. You buy that $1.5 million property as an investment first. So you put tenants in there and use the tax benefits and the income to help cover the mortgage. Meanwhile, you keep your costs low, maybe living with your parents or renting somewhere more affordable. Over the years, you put every spare dollar into the loan. As your income grows and the debt goes down, eventually you'll reach a point where you're comfortable. Let's say you owe $800,000 on the property now. At that point, you can convert the property back into your own home. You live in the house that you always wanted, but at a loan size that you're more comfortable with. This is not about becoming a lifelong investor. It's about creating a stepping stone into the market and actually having a chance to own your dream home when it may have felt impossible before. With property investment, there's a lot of talk around tax. Now, to be clear, you should always speak to your accountant before you do anything. but just some basic tax benefits explained simply. Negative gearing. This is when your rent does not cover your costs, and the shortfall reduces your taxable income. This is where the tax man chips in. Depreciation. Buildings and fittings wear out over time, and the tax office does let you claim that as a deduction. This is what you call a depreciation schedule. Again, speak to your accountant and work out a long-term plan. So just some exit strategies. Rent vesting doesn't have to be forever, and this is where it can be quite fun. So options include, once the properties have gone up, you can sell one and pay off your mortgage. You can refinance and pull out more equity and buy more investments. If you actually enjoy renting and lifestyle matters most to you, you can just keep renting. You have the flexibility to transition later in life, like starting a family and having something behind you. So I know a couple that bought 2 properties in their 20s. After about 10 years, those properties were now worth about $1 million more total. They decided to keep one and sell one. The one they sold helped them buy their family home, and the other one was a strong investment at this stage, which helped them enter home ownership in a much stronger position. The power of rent vesting is acceleration. Buying your home first ties all your money up into the one property, and growth can be slow. Rent vesting can help you spread the growth over multiple assets. The beauty of investing is compounding interest. You can think of compounding like a giant snowball rolling down a hill. At first it is small and hard to notice, but as it continues to roll, it picks up more and more snow, and it grows bigger and faster. This is how equity works. 2 or 3 well-chosen investments over a 10 to 15 year period could replace your salary and will change your life. That is freedom. Some barriers to entry to rent vesting. Your friends and family might not understand what you're doing, and while they usually mean well, they just want you to be secure and safe. Quite often friends and family will say that renting is a waste of time and money. Society does glorify owning your own home. But here's the truth. Renting is not throwing your money away if it is part of a plan. It is buying flexibility while your investment grows. At a barbecue, people will often say, you're just paying off someone else's mortgage. And you can say, yeah, but someone else is also paying off mine. Remember, you are playing a different game, the wealth game. Who rent vesting isn't for. People who value stability over flexibility might not suit. People that are uncomfortable with debt, and people unwilling to treat it as a strategy. Different strategies suit different people. So just some key takeaways. Rent vesting means renting where you want to live and investing where you can. It separates lifestyle from wealth creation. It can let you enter the market sooner, build wealth faster, and enjoy flexibility. No strategy is perfect, but with planning and discipline, it is a proven wealth accelerator. And it's not forever. It can be the stepping stone that gets you into your dream home, helps you create financial freedom, or both. If you're curious about how rent vesting could work for you, book a 15-minute chat in the calendar link below. I would love to help you find the path that is right for you. My name is Aaron Vandermeulen from Opiac Finance Solutions, and we help people get into the property market every day.